welcome to episode 138 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we were wrong at the end of last episode. We thought we were going to be doing a Disney episode today.
Oh, you teased me so much.
But I had our timing off. So we're still
Did
doing...
you know you could hit the end of notes on your phone? Because you can when I talk about Disney.
Apple just said stop.
Yeah.
You can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're doing just a normal episode on Static Shock this week, and then next week will be an episode on kind of Disney Plus.
Yes, that post-Thanksgiving treat.
Exactly. Everyone's still,
that final little
out.
bit of dessert.
But no, we got some good episodes this week. I was not expecting Sons of the Father, which is like a really important episode in Static Shock, to be so early on in the run.
I remembered it was season 1, but yeah, it's pretty early, and it's both these episodes this week. We're seeing the other side of this series of like they're tackling very important issues.
Yeah, and doing a really good job with it, and we will of course be getting into that shortly. But first off, we have some news. We have some catch-up news too.
We do. We're 2 weeks back.
Yeah, we had.
How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I'm doing fine. Still super tired, working crazy. You?
About the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other in about 2 weeks.
I know,
so
it's actually it's very rare for us to have that much time
live
apart.
catch up. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
What have you been? What's been tickling your fancy this week?
In terms of news?
Yeah.
Was that a segue or was that...
Yeah, for news.
I was like, on a personal level, sleep has been tickling my fancy when I can get it. I finally got a really good night's sleep last night, which I haven't had for almost a month.
Good, right?
Yeah. Because I went out Friday night. I didn't have that much to drink, but like, I didn't go to bed till 2, and then I woke up at 6 a.m. Saturday morning.
Ew.
And I could not fall back asleep. And I was like, I need more than 4 hours to function. And last night, I got a good, probably solid 8 plus. Didn't wake up to have to pee in the middle of the night.
That's doctor's recommendation.
Yeah. Do you have to get up to pee all the time now in the middle of the night?
I mean, you say now like something changed. No, that's just always been.
Okay. Like I used to always sleep through the night, and then now I pretty much always have to get up. And I feel like people in their 50s talk about that being a thing or later. Like I wasn't expecting that after 30. All of a sudden now I have to take pee breaks in the middle of the night.
Well, I've talked about my crows.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the crows that are always waking you up.
Yeah, quoth the raven, never sleep.
I mean, it would be tempting to like try and take one of them out, but they remember.
Exactly. That's always my thought.
Yeah.
It's like I can just get a slingshot. They're so close to my window.
Can you trick a neighbor?
Knocking at my window door. At my windowsill.
Can you like trick someone else to try and take them out for you?
Like go up a level and like pull my slingshot out at the people above me and then sneak back down?
I mean, it all depends. How do crows remember people? Is it by sight?
Or is it by location?
Smell, location? We don't know. Is
Yeah.
it some sort of weird echolocation that we...
So I'll break in, douse myself in whatever cologne or perfume the people above me have, pull out my slingshot. I'm not going to harm the birds. I'm just going to scare them.
Here's what you do. Buy yourself a balaclava and some really strong Axe body spray.
Yeah.
Go a floor up. Hit one of them with a slingshot.
Yeah. Maybe just from the roof. Maybe I'll just...
Oh, yeah. Can you get on the roof?
I don't think so.
Oh.
But I can get anywhere.
Okay.
I'm an agile young man.
That's true. You can make it happen. Well, I hope you succeed in
Thank you.
your endeavor to kill the crows, and I'm hoping I stop having to pee all the time. But that's what's tickling my fancy personally in terms of what's going on in entertainment.
It's good to know
news.
life news sometimes.
Yes. That was very rude. What's tickling your fancy, Cameron? What's happening in your life?
Oh, well, there's this new trailer that came out.
But no, I had forgotten about this. You reminded me right before we started recording about the Harley Quinn trailer. So the full trailer for the series coming to DC Universe end of this
December,
month.
yeah.
Actually, yeah. I mean, in a matter of days, basically, at this point, almost. It looks really good.
Looks really good.
I'm trying to remember. Were we skeptical about this when it was
You
first?
were very skeptical because the first trailer we got last year before Disney Plus launched. No, sorry.
DC Universe?
Freudian slip
I
there.
understand. I had to correct I almost said Disney Plus.
DC Universe, before it came out, we did have that minute-long trailer of her sitting in the jail cell.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you were worried it was like, oh, it's going to be just like very offbeat, crude humor. And it still kind of is.
It is, but based on this trailer, it's deployed well.
Yes, and also now we have a rough idea of the plot,
Yeah.
where it's not going to be like a silly sitcom, which I think is what it was pitched as.
Yeah, maybe.
And it could still be that way, but now we know kind of the overarching story is Harley is trying to get into the Legion of Doom, and kind of trying to up her cred as a villain.
It looks super fun.
Yeah, that's such a great idea, and that's
Yeah.
a very fun play, especially for that character to play in.
Yeah. Well, because it's a fun concept because it's her having to just constantly escalate her own life. This already very heightened character just having to like go more extreme places.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, because we've had a few conversations about this, because I remember talking in BTOS about the schedule of villainy, of like what villain has what day of the week in Gotham.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Do they ever coordinate?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that like with Quinn trying to become this new force in Gotham, like she starts stepping on other villains' toes,
Yeah.
and they kind of have like Penguin comes over, is like, hey, we need to talk.
Yeah.
It's like, I know you're trying to get into the game, but like banks are my thing.
Yeah.
Art museums, that's Riddler. Science labs, that's Freeze. Like you can't just take whatever you want. We all have our thing.
Yeah.
You needed to find a thing. It's like, well, everything's taken already.
That is the sort of like meta commentary I could see them doing. 'Cause we even see hints of it a little bit in the trailer.
Yeah.
But it like we just rewatched it before we started recording. It makes me laugh. Like I laughed. Like
Yeah.
I laughed just watching the trailer.
I think we can both say we're more excited for this series than the Birds of Prey film coming out.
Yeah. Well, it's just I feel like Birds of Prey has style but no personality, and this show has both personality and style.
Yeah.
Plus, this show has a great cast. I was always a little bit skeptical about Kaylee Cuoco as Harley just because it felt like a bit of stunt casting. But I still am conscious of the fact that it's her when I'm listening to the trailer, at least. But she's doing a good performance.
Yeah.
Plus, Alan Tudyk is the Joker.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, because I was listening.
Oh,
Like,
what
where
a
do I
man.
know this from? And I looked it up, and then I'm just excited too because Dietrich Bader is back as Batman, and I'm still getting caught up in The Brave and the Bold, and he's so good.
He's so good.
He's like whatever the voice equivalent of having like a twinkle in your eye is. I feel like that's what he does when he plays Batman.
Yeah.
Like there's just something like I don't know. You feel like he's got like a little smile, like a little crook going on as he's doing the lines. Just there's this tiny little bit of fun that maybe isn't there in other performances.
Stop right there.
It's so good. He's so good. So I'm super excited for this actually. And it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
Yet another thing for me to watch.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm so behind on everything.
Which is crazy because you are usually really on top of
I
stuff.
know. Well, usually like when I'm watching like the DC stuff, I'll have it on while I'm working.
Yeah.
Or I'll, be on my phone doing other things, answering emails and stuff. But we'll talk more about it next week. But with like the Disney Plus stuff specifically, like I want to sit down and focus.
Yeah.
So I need like a solid hour of nothing else happening.
It's hard to find.
And that is very hard to find.
Yeah. That's me with Watchmen and with The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Like
I'm very appreciative. I mean, I wish there was more, but I'm kind of appreciative The Mandalorian is only 30 minutes. 'Cause like, okay, cool. That's my lunch break.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So you can squeeze it in real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll talk more about that next week. But okay, other things that are happening. Some updates on Black Adam.
Oh yeah, tell me about this.
Yes, you didn't catch this, but so they put out a teaser poster, a Jim Lee designed teaser poster.
Okay.
Which looks really good. We get a release date now of December 22nd, 2021.
I was waiting for like 2036.
Right. And then the rumor that's circulating, it's not really definitive yet, but it seems like this movie might introduce us to the JSA. So the three characters that have been talked about is Hawkman, Atom Smasher, and Stargirl may make an appearance.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool. I like the JSA. I actually just watched the Brave and the Bold episode with them. And there's some characters I really like in there. Like, I don't know why I like Our Man a lot. Like, I've seen him in nothing, basically, but he's just kind of a cool idea.
He has a cool look.
Yeah, cool look, cool.
And of the JSA, I feel like those are kind of the weird people to pull from them. Because JSA has some great characters.
There's some big hitters in the JSA. So, like, Wildcat.
Yeah, Wildcat's one of my favorite. I mean, I love, because he's always kind of the cameo character in most of the DC stuff. And he's maybe my favorite cameo character.
Oh, he's great in The Brave and the Bold. He's great in JLU. He's got a great appearance in New Frontier.
Yep.
Like, because we got Wildcat, Dr. Midnight,
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Fate,
Dr. Fate.
The OG Green Lantern.
Yeah.
OG Flash.
Yeah, I kind of wish. I guess also what it comes down to, since I heard this, I'm like, you know what I would rather see?
A JSA
A
movie.
JSA movie. And my hesitation on this is still the fact that The Rock is the star of it. And to be fair, he's hit or miss for me sometimes. When he's hit, he's definite hit. Like, I loved the last Jumanji. Still super excited for the new one. Excited for Jungle Cruise. But
the Jumanji trailer played. I went to the movies last week.
oh, okay, so you saw.
I put my headphones in and buried my head.
Okay, yeah, because there's some really good jokes that
Yeah, I'm
you
like,
don't
no,
want spoiled
I
in
don't
that
want.
trailer.
I want to just enjoy this one.
But I like him a lot. My one concern is that now whenever he's anything, he's the star of all of it. Like, we've talked about this at length already, that Black Adam
Yeah.
should be a supporting character in one of these things, not the central character. And even if they introduce the JSA, they're going to be background characters. And here's another thing that I'm curious about your opinion on. Do you think we finally got a definitive release date on Black Adam because the Joker did so well at the box office?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
That is also another concern of mine, which is I don't think that the path to go now is to just do solo villain movies from this point on. And this is maybe not going to be solo if they're going to introduce the JSA. But the strength of DC has always been in its villains. They haven't found a way yet to capitalize on that. That's what Suicide Squad should have been, and it was a disaster. But I think putting the villains at the forefront, sure, that makes a lot of sense. But making just a bunch of villain solo pieces or villain focus pieces, I'm maybe not super interested in.
But just think of how many of them could kill Thomas and Martha.
That's true. That's the running thread of all of them from now on, is that somehow they're all going to intersect that one moment when Thomas and Martha Wayne are shot.
Well, so then Bruce has to choose, like, who was the one that actually influenced the group.
So the Batman actually is the real mystery, is who really killed Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Yeah. Is there another Batman villain you would love to have a solo film?
Killer Moth.
Great choice. I thought you were going to go with Riddler just because... No, what are we talking about? We want a Condiment King solo film.
That's absolutely true.
The whole movie is in puns.
So I don't want to see any more origin superhero villain
Except
films. But
for the Condiment King.
If it were something really wry and meta and self-aware, if it were in even a similar kind of tonal vein to maybe what's going on with the Harley Quinn show, then I'd be super on board. Like, I think we have lots of complicated feelings about the Joker. The one thing I can appreciate is doing something that feels really, really different. So if they could do that again, if they could do this sort of like weird offbeat comedy, like actual genuine comedy with a lesser Batman villain, and if they set it where all this is like all the reality is actually going on in the background, like if it were set in a Gotham where Batman exists and all these other villains exist, and they're like, it's like, you ever that great episode of Buffy? Is it called Zappo, Harpo? I don't know. It's the one where Xander is just focused on him. Like, there's some crazy disaster going in the background, but it's just focused on his own little like side quest. It's basically the idea of like putting the side quest in the forefront of a story.
Oh yeah.
If they did that, I would love it. But that also requires them to have this sort of like robust continuity that, say, Marvel has. Like, Marvel could do that now.
Yeah.
Maybe not as a movie, but like they could totally do like a Disney Plus movie or a Disney Plus like short run series that's all about just like this random villain that no one takes seriously. And I would love to see something like that, but that's not what we're gonna get. Let's be honest.
I know. Oh, Disney Plus.
We had some more casting news from The Batman. So we got confirmation that Andy Serkis is gonna play Alfred.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. So
that's good.
Because it was that. There was a premiere recently, and Matt Reeves tweeted a photo of Andy Serkis running down the carpet, and it says, "Here comes Alfred," with the little Batman, little Bat
cute.
logo. It's definitely a different version of Alfred, but I'm intrigued by it. Did you ever read?
Wait, so is he gonna? Is it a CG? Is it a CG Alfred played by Andy Serkis?
That's absolutely true.
Is it just Caesar in a suit?
They're gonna bring back Alan Napier from the original.
Amazing.
60s show, but they're going to have Andy Serkis with the mocap on it.
Perfect.
It's going to be great. Did you ever read Batman, not Year One, Batman Earth One?
No.
So it's Jeff Johns and oh fuck, I was gonna say Frank Quietly, but it's not Frank Quietly doing the art. Andy Kubert, it doesn't matter. It's a good story. It's a young new version of Batman going up, and in that version, Alfred wasn't the Wayne's butler. He was Thomas Wayne's like good friend from some sort of armed conflict, and he was basically brought in as last minute security for the Waynes because Thomas Wayne was running for mayor. They're killed, and then the only person left to take care of Bruce is Alfred, and so he basically just lies, says, "Okay, I guess I'm your butler," but he's a very different role.
Okay.
He's not like ironing Bruce's tights and that sort of thing. Like he's an actual.
Does he teach him sock fu?
He absolutely teaches him sock fu.
Of course.
Yeah, only the best heroes know sock
It's the
fu.
first thing they teach the military.
Yeah. Well, you got to do your own laundry, all right?
You have
no one else
to.
is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to be efficient. There's no time to waste. You got to get your workout in. You got to get your combat training in while you're also doing household chores. Mm-hmm. You should see the mop. It's crazy.
Oh, man.
But I think, I mean, just given that it's Andy Serkis who has that sort of like grit to him a little bit. I mean, he has like the polish too. Like he played a butler in The Prestige. He was like the right-hand man to Nikola Tesla in The Prestige.
He was.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's Nolan's best.
And it absolutely is.
You know what? You can at me if you disagree. I will have that argument
But
with
yeah,
you.
no, Prestige is easily his best film.
Definitely his best film.
It's top 5 films for me.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I could see him, but maybe doing like a bit of a grittier take on it a little bit. So that could be interesting to see where they go with that. And the other piece of casting was that John Turturro is going to be Carmine Falcone.
I did see that one, which is leading more and more into a Long Halloween idea.
Because there's still rumors flying around that someone is going to get cast as Harvey Dent. Now, the challenge there is that The Dark Knight already really did their version of that, and they did a pretty good job with it. Mm-hmm. But you can still incorporate some elements of the Harvey Dent angle and the Two-Face angle into a Long Halloween adaptation. But if that's what this is, God, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's the best Batman comic ever written.
And I think the casting we've had has all been fantastic so far.
Yeah. I feel like Andy Serkis' Alfred is maybe the only one so far who go like, oh, that'll be an interesting take on the character, rather than, oh, that is that character personified.
Yeah, John Turturro I'm so excited for him.
I love John Turturro.
Yeah.
I mean, the man's got incredible talent, incredible range. And I feel like...
And to think of like how far he's come, because I think it's the same. Hold on. Let me double check this before I...
Are you asking if he's the Jesus from The Big Lebowski?
No.
Because he is. Are you asking if he's...
is he
if
Jesus?
he's Agent... Was it Simmons or whatever from Transformers?
No, I knew that one. It is Mr. Deeds.
Oh, that's right. That's who he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sneaky.
I'm sneaky.
No, he's fantastic. And Tom Wilkinson is great in Batman Begins as Falcone. But, this is still really fantastic. This movie I continue to be super, super excited about. Mm-hmm. Okay. I have one little thing I want to talk about. There's not much to discuss. I just want to acknowledge how great this is. But they have confirmed that Noah Hawley, who did both the Fargo TV series and then Legion, is going to write and direct a new Star Trek movie.
Oh, that's cool.
With the reboot cast, which I just want more movies with that cast. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, this won't include Anton Yelchin, obviously, because he tragically passed away. But I will also...
Have you gone back and watched any of his films recently?
No.
They're all so good.
He was amazing. I know you've talked a lot about Charlie Bartlett, which I haven't seen.
Charlie Bartlett is so good. He's amazing in that. Thoroughbreds, he's amazing in.
Oh, that's right.
His last film.
Yeah, I still need to go watch that. Yeah. And I've heard the documentary that just came out about him is supposed to be really, really fantastic. I need to go watch that. I can't remember the name of it. But I mean, it won't include him, which is unfortunate.
No,
that's not. It's sad that it won't include him, but I mean, that is an amazing cast, and so I'm super excited for that. And Noah Hawley is a really fantastic creative. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have one other thing, or I guess two things in the same vein to talk about. One is that Henry Cavill made a comment recently that technically he's still Superman.
Yeah,
he hasn't given up. He said something along the lines of like the cape is in the closet and he's ready to bring it out if something lines up properly. Mm-hmm. Which I would still like to see a really good Superman movie done with him. I think he's well cast, just underutilized.
I agree.
But along those lines, the other thing too
the most important news of this week that I've been waiting for this moment on the podcast.
So there's been a lot of social media traction, let's specify,
Yes.
about
But that gets work done nowadays.
it can.
You
It fix Sonic.
I was gonna bring it up. Like, are we gonna talk about Sonic?
That new trailer looks good,
It
actually.
looks so good.
It looks fun. It looks really fun. So glad they fixed that. Jesus Christ. I don't even care about Sonic, and I'm glad they fixed it.
I think I have really high hopes for the movie. Just because it's nice to see Jim Carrey be like a crazy person again.
Yeah. He looks like he's going to be on like proper camp form.
Yeah.
But no, what we're ultimately getting at here is that there's been a lot of social media traction about the Snyder Cut. So obviously the hashtag release the Snyder Cut. But the big thing is that who has been jumping in on this, which is everyone. So like basically all the principal cast now has jumped in to make some sort of post about it. So this includes Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, Jason Momoa obviously has been banging this drum for a while.
Yeah.
But lots, where'd it go? I had the article up. Lots of other people though are also getting on this. Where'd it go? I had it. Oh, here we go. Okay, so let me just like run through some of the lists of people that have been jumping on board here. So, I think it's the cinematographer has been posting a little bit about this. But the actor who played Black Manta in Aquaman.
Okay.
Forgive me, I'm totally gonna butcher this, but Yahya Abdul Mateen. No, actually, maybe I got that right. Who's also in Watchmen, and he's great in it.
Okay.
He's the husband.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he tweeted about it. David Ayer tweeted about it. Gal Gadot. Ben Affleck, Ray Porter. Who's Ray Porter?
Is that not Cyborg?
No, that's Ray Fisher.
Oh.
Joe Manganiello. Yeah, lots of people. Like the stunt coordinator on it.
But I think we have to remember when we talk about release the Snyder Cut, the movie's not done. Like that's not a complete.
It seems
movie.
ambiguous.
Yeah.
As to how. I mean, so
how would you like them to handle it?
So I have mixed feelings on this because there's a lot of cases in history of films getting interfered with for the lesser. So, for example, years later, they released the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 on DVD, which I still own somewhere. I have to track it down because I think whenever we do that movie, I think we're going to do that version of the movie.
Okay.
But famously, so brief little thing in history here. Famously, Richard Donner was doing the 2 Superman movies back to back. The budget got way overblown. The Salkins who were producing it fired him before the end of Superman 1 was even released. So the end of Superman 2 tacked on to Superman 1 and then hired Richard Lester, who had done A Hard Day's Night, which is a great film, to do Superman 2 and basically had to reshoot bit like moment for moment, beat for beat, most Superman 2 to get the credit on it as a director. And I think to the lesser of that film, that's still a good film, but the Richard Donner version is better. It just hangs together a lot more solidly. So they released that on DVD, and so it's composed of a lot of the Richard Lester stuff, and then they changed the ending a little bit and they added in some scenes. So a great example is the moment where Lois realizes who Superman is, and Clark Kent is Superman. It's a 40-year-old fucking movie at this point. You just haven't seen it, so that's why it's spoilers for you. But there's a different version in their theatrical release and the Richard Donner version. The version they use is actually a screen test. When they did the original screen test, the chemistry test between Margaret Kidder and Christopher Reeve, they use that scene. So that's the version they use in the Richard Donner cut. And I mean, it's an interesting experiment. Like you watch it and you can see that it's unfinished. You can see like the holes and the patches. But it's interesting to see that version done. I also have always really wanted to see the director's cut of Superman Returns, and I recognize now how problematic that is, given that Bryan Singer's the director on it. But I've read the screenplay and I've seen some of the like deleted scenes, and there's a version of that movie I think a lot better than the actual cut. I've always wanted to see that. So I would like to see what Zack Snyder would have done with this, recognizing that it would be incomplete. There'd probably be some patchwork VFX shots. But I am curious about this. But it's also hard to know what we get, because the thing that people don't seem to be talking about is Justice League was a half of a 2-part story. That was the original intent. So we don't know to what degree the first film and what was shot had a sense of closure to it, or finality to it. So if that's the case, if Warner Brothers is sitting on a near completed version of this movie, or say even like a 78% complete version of this movie, but it's half a story, they put themselves in a bind by putting out this movie because say it does get positive reactions, say people are like, oh, this like actually would have been good. We see what they're going for in terms of the story arc. Then all of a sudden the fans are like, well, now give us Justice League 2.
But on that note, when have they listened to fans?
I mean, they don't in general. But the thing is that if you yield in releasing the Snyder Cut and you potentially set up then people demanding that you go make a movie that, let's be honest, won't do well at the box office because the Justice League, the first one, bombed. There's this ambiguity as to what's going on with that cast. Ben Affleck's already gone at this point.
Yeah, I mean, all their contracts have been fulfilled. It's like if they want to film any more scenes, make a sequel, they have to like, scrounge up more money to pay all these actors that now are kind of even bigger than they were before.
Yeah.
They're going to be even harder to open time slots for, get them in the same room.
Yeah, which I think there are definitely moments in the first Justice League, the actual theatrical version, when you watch it go, oh, these people aren't in the same room together.
Yeah. There was I just learned there was a movie that started production in 2016 with Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley.
Oh, yeah, that's still not out.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
a
now
Doug Liman film, actually.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the movie's called, but yeah, they like the producers of it. I think it might be Lionsgate, or Sony. I don't know. It's not Warner Brothers. It's not Disney. They're still trying to like finish the movie, but now obviously since they started filming, Daisy Ridley became huge, and Tom Holland became huge. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, now they just can't ever. They don't have time for reshoots anymore.
No. Plus, like, they're gonna look older.
Yeah, and that was the other visible thing is it's been 3 years while they were both young.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same reason why we'll probably never see New Mutants, right? Because from what I've heard, that movie maybe never actually got reshoots done. Like, they were scheduled and they didn't happen, which at this point, it's like you would have to either reshoot the whole thing because all those actors have aged up a little bit.
Yeah, the trailer came out in 2016.
Fuck. Yeah, so, no, I agree with you. Just from like a logistics perspective, I don't think they can put enough stuff together to make it work.
Here's how I think they should handle the Justice League movie, the Snyder Cut. Handle it the same way as... Did you ever see the documentary The Sweatbox?
No, what's that?
So, got my Disney story in.
For those of you playing Timm Talk Bingo at home.
Yeah, I got it in. So, a lot of people don't know, but everyone loves The Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
It's a very fun, very funny movie. That was not the original script at all.
Right.
They completely rewrote, reanimated everything in kind of the last year.
Yeah.
So the movie had been in production for about 2 years already. Similar voice cast, but it was going to be a very serious movie. It was kind of a new take on Prince and the Pauper. It was going to still be a musical. There's rumors that a lot of the ideas were quote unquote stolen, allegedly, and put into Road to El Dorado.
Oh, okay.
Because of America's asshole Katzenberg.
Yeah.
And so this movie, and it was also going to be done in a similar sense as Tarzan, where they have one artist, single artist soundtrack.
Single artist soundtrack. For our most esoteric episode, go back and listen to single artist soundtrack.
It was going to be one artist, and it was going to be Sting.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah.
Sting had written the entire soundtrack already. The storyboard had been, the script had been done, storyboard had been done. Full voice cast had been done. Like, they'd finished all the dialogue.
Yeah.
They'd started final animation. And then a single Disney exec, who I don't remember his name right now, I think he's gone now. I assume he's gone now, came in. And he's like, oh, I hate this. Start over. And we're not moving the deadline. Fuck. I mean, that's the LA story, though. That's the Hollywood story.
Yeah,
so they completely, they on a timeline standpoint, they were 70% done with this project.
Yeah.
And completely scrapped it and started from scratch. And now we have the version we have now. And so they made a documentary about it, which also, funny enough, got scrapped, but was leaked online a couple of years ago called The Sweatbox.
Yeah.
Which is about the miserable process of basically calling Sting and telling him we're not making his movie.
Jesus Christ. That's a hell of a thing. They should have made the exec do it.
Yeah. But yeah, this horrible process of changing everything in the last minute.
Yeah.
And so I think they can take that idea and apply that to the Snyder Cut.
I think they could work. I mean, they did the same thing with Superman Lives. that there's a documentary
Yeah,
out there
the Death of
about
Superman Lives.
Exactly, which I haven't watched either. We should do.
Neither have I,
We should
yeah.
do that at some point.
So that could kind of curve the ending of that part 1.
Yeah.
Of like you're showing it in segments, and then kind of as you're getting to the end of part 1, you can kind of blend it into more about Snyder and more about Zach and kind of the trauma that happened with his family. I wouldn't want them to.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I like that idea up to a point. Like I like that idea of basically making a movie about this movie kind of falling apart and the reshoots that went into it, and you could even have sections of it that like are extended sequences. Like if the ending's totally different, like you can have that ending shown more or less like in real time. But yeah, I wouldn't want to dive into like the personal tragedy element of it just because that would feel exploitative. And we knock Zack Snyder a lot as like a filmmaker sometimes, but like he's still a person.
Yeah,
and like that, it's really sad what happened to him. And I think maybe to some degree that became an excuse. Like, and worth also acknowledging we don't have any inside knowledge on this. It's like pure speculation, but like.
Not that we've ever had inside knowledge on anything.
Never at any point in our lives, but it kind of feels like maybe Warner Brothers to some degree capitalized on that tragedy as an excuse to push him out. And I guess that's like the real tragedy of all of this. It's like there's an actual like human tragedy tangentially connected with what is otherwise like a lot of business, political, entertainment bullshitting that's going on. And it's interesting that Snyder is also feeling this fire himself to a lot of degree. Because I feel like there's potential for that intersection to happen somewhere.
Yeah. Here's my second idea. So the original version of Clerks, Kevin Smith ran out of money and didn't finish 2 scenes. And so in the DVD version of Clerks, you can actually watch it with those scenes added, but they're animated.
Oh, okay.
And it's very it's funny. It's fun to see them. I'm glad they weren't in the real movie because they're very dark and very weird.
Did they get shot at the end?
No, it's Jay and Silent Bob crash a funeral. No, it's not Jay and Silent. It's the main 2 guys.
Yeah.
Dante and
Randall?
Yeah, Randall. Go to a funeral, and he like drops a ring in the casket. And so it's like him like feeling around the dead body to try and like, get his ring back or whatever he dropped back. Yeah. It's very off-putting and like it's funny animated. Yeah. But I feel like it'd be very
very painful.
Yeah,
in real
live
life.
action. So like that is a weird route they could go. I mean, you've seen screened movies before where they're not full, where you have like the storyboard filled in.
Yeah.
The rumor is right now to kind of bring it all back to where we were is people are speculating this is being talked about now because it might go up on HBO Max.
Okay.
The Warner streaming service coming soon.
Yeah.
Which is going to be expensive. Yes. Maybe.
Look, I would be for that. I think that saves them on having the cost because it's expensive to generate and distribute DVDs or Blu-rays.
For a pretty... I mean, it's a big audience, but still a niche audience.
It's still very niche at the end of the day. It's still very, very specific.
Like it's not something anyone in my family is going to go out and it's like, oh, no. I saw this at Target.
Yeah, I had to go buy it.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I would like to see it. Justice League is terrible, and it's terrible because it's just so underwhelming and it's so generic, and there's nothing interesting to it. And pretty sure I even said when we did an episode on Justice League that I would have seen the Snyder version.
Yeah.
Which is saying something
because
I hate BVS.
Boring is worse than bad.
Yeah, the greatest sin of a film is being boring. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I would be curious to see it. I have no interest in like jumping in and like the fan fervor to try and make it happen. But if it were, I'd be curious to watch it, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if it's on... I think a streaming platform is the best place to put it.
I think so, yeah. All right. Well, shall we
finally start our topic?
Yeah, should we get into our primary topic of the day? So, yeah, it's a couple new episodes of Static Shock here. So starting out with Child's Play.
Yeah.
So, what's the Aaron. So, it's about this kid, Aaron, who...
No, Aaron's the brother.
Aaron's the brother. Who's the...
Yeah, Dwayne.
Dwayne. So, it's about Dwayne, something's last name. I watched this on Friday and I've forgotten it already. Dwayne, who was near the Big Bang and now has the ability to essentially make his imagination become real.
Which is such a cool power.
It is a cool power. And then, initially he's just kind of, it's all relatively benign. Like he's kind of accidentally making bad things happen, like creating a giant robot to disrupt a basketball game and wrecking the rec center and stuff like that. He's not doing anything particularly malicious. But his stepbrother, Aaron, has just gotten out of, like, he went to like some sort of like finishing school, like correction.
Yeah.
Some sort of punitive bad kid school that has a better name than whatever I just said.
Yeah. I don't think, they never say juvie.
Yeah, it's not juvie, but it's something along those lines. But he comes back, and Aaron discovers that Dwayne has these powers and basically tries to trick Dwayne into like robbing banks and doing a bunch of bad shit. And then Static has to jump in to point out that Aaron's a real shit brother.
Mm-hmm. Step brother.
Mm-hmm. Yes, worth differentiating. But I mean, it's pretty solid. It's an interesting power set that I thought they did a good job with.
I think it's because I've seen this power a few times, and it's funny and it makes sense that it's always a kid that has this power.
Yeah.
Because if you give it, I love the idea of like a teenager having this power, and it's like boobs appearing on walls, just everywhere.
I love the idea of an adult having this power because it would be the most mundane things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what it would be for me? Not having to get up in the middle of the night to go pee. That's what I would dream.
It'd be like having the remote be slightly closer, so I don't have to get up and get it. I would just imagine my water bottle filling itself up, so I don't have to do it myself.
So I don't have to get up and go do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because they have a kind of a joke about that in this, which I really enjoyed, where Aaron tells Dwayne to make him money. So he tries to make $100 bill, and he's like, "What is this? This isn't $100." He's like, "I've never seen $100 bills. This is what I think it looks like."
Yeah, that's a fun little moment. It's the reality of what this, like, how this kid would approach things.
Yeah,
like,
and it also at the same time sets up the family life of like they're not a well-off family.
Yeah,
there's a lot of internal struggles, and they kind of poke around at it where like when Aaron finds out that Dwayne has powers, Dwayne is very scared of it. He's like, please don't tell anyone. Like, I'm scared of what I can do. And then later in the episode, Virgil and Richie go to their mom's house, and you kind of see that. And the first thing she says is like, it's like, oh, those bang babies. It's like, I don't want them anywhere around here. And I'm like, oh, okay. You see like why he's scared of this. It's like, it's immediate that the parent is making him, fearful of what he can do.
Yeah, it's basically there's an obvious disapproval from the parents, and then the kid's aware that he's a bang baby and is horrified of that sort of disapproval.
Yeah, and so then when you have Aaron come in, he's like, "Oh no, you're awesome. We're friends." He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." He's gonna stay and do what he says because now this is someone that's approving of what he can do.
Yeah,
and not approving, accepting of what he can do. And from his perspective, like he's being praised for it, which from what we can imagine in this episode has never happened before.
No, and like that, how much of a relief that would be for a kid. And we talked a little bit about this with the introduction of his. Is it the what's the Ebon's crew called?
Oh, the Metabreed.
The Metabreed, yeah. Like the idea of finding acceptance someplace and what happens when that acceptance is coming from the wrong kind of person or someone who is using it to exploit. And that's kind of what's really incredible about this show is that's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing that like pretty much every kid goes through in some sort of capacity.
Absolutely.
That feeling of loneliness or being an outsider and finding acceptance and then either finding out the wrong way that you have been accepted by the wrong kind of person or having someone else point it out to you and the defensiveness that comes with that. And maybe the eventual self-realization too. And like, that's a really real grounded thing.
Yeah,
and
that's how cults are formed.
Yeah, basically.
Do you remember the Boy Meets World episode where Sean joins a cult?
No, I don't.
It's a great episode. And it has like such a powerful ending where Sean is like abandoning his friends, abandoning his responsibility. He wants to quit school.
Yeah.
And Corey comes up and just like hugs him. He's like, this is a hug. This is what a real hug is. Not the shit that they're giving over there. Like, this is what friendship is and family is.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, shit. Corey, why are you such a good friend?
But, I mean, it ultimately just boils down to, like, really good storytelling. And, when they're hitting those sort of really good, genuine emotional beats, I honestly kind of lose track of... Not lose track, but I don't think much about the plot necessarily or the villains. Because, like... it's a cool power set. I think it's really well utilized, but a lot of it's kind of silly. Like he makes like this
a sumo wrestler.
a sumo wrestler to break into a bank.
I love that.
But it's also very much like what a kid would do, and I love that even that the animation style is different between. I'm sure I'm stealing that note from you. I'm sure you had that on there. But like the animation style is different. But like when Aaron wants him to like steal stuff from a mall, he creates this Martian train thing that's going around stealing stuff. And
so that's the other thing is they set it up very slyly in the beginning, where when they're talking to the mom, she's like, "Oh, Dwayne, he just loves like playing video games and watching cartoons." And so then that comes back in the mall, and Virgil is like, "Oh, wait, my powers aren't working, but I know this character from the game, and I know how to beat them in the video game."
Yeah,
and that is the weakness to that character still. And like, oh, it's nice to have nerd fights,
right? Well, and that's the other thing too, is that this show leans into the characters being genuinely nerdy, and like they feel real.
Yeah,
like they are not quote unquote cool, but because they just feel more real and grounded, like they are kind of cool.
Yeah, nothing feels more fake when you have a jock that's like, "What's Star Wars?"
Yeah,
I'm like, "Fuck you! Everyone knows what Star Wars is.
Everybody knows what Star Wars is.
Everybody knows."
Yeah, it's not cool to not like things.
Yeah. That's more worrisome. That, like, maybe you got hit in the head too many times and you forgot what Star Wars is. Yeah. And so when you have this, like, where they're not, like, they still think they're cool. They're not playing into the nerd trope. But at the same time, like, oh, yeah, he programs video games. He watches cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, that. Yeah, that's just what normal people do.
He is just a normal kid.
Yeah.
In a way that we haven't really seen. Because even Terry is...
He was just a normal guy who had, like,
amazing,
like gold level, like Olympics level gymnastics abilities.
Yeah, but even then, he's got this kind of like James Dean cool guy thing going on. He's got the hot girlfriend. He's got friends. It's like his episodes never felt relatable as a teenager.
Or it was also to the point where he was so played up that when he was, for me at least, when he was nice to like the nerd characters, it almost felt uncharacteristic of him.
Yeah.
Like to be the nice guy on top of all this.
Exactly. Because I think he always genuinely was trying to be the nice guy, but then there were certain episodes when he would play up that niceness to try and get some sort of information and be a detective. And you feel like Virgil does that a little bit here. Because actually Virgil does play a detective kind of in this episode. Yeah. Like he has to go figure out who the person is that is making all these things happen. Mm-hmm. Which that's kind of fun to see too. Like it was a totally different side to him as a crime fighter, having to evolve a little bit.
Yeah. And then so this is also the episode we were introduced to the community center, which will be a big location for the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. So this is I misspoke before, as I do many a time.
Yes.
He does not run a homeless shelter or a kid shelter. This is Virgil's dad's job and location. Is he runs the community center, and we see at the same time it's meant to help kids.
Yeah.
So we see that in the next episode a lot too, which we'll talk about in a second. Mm-hmm. Of like his first and ultimate responsibility is the kids of the community.
Yeah.
And once again, best parent award continues to go to Virgil's dad.
Oh, absolutely. Because what is also great about that too is that it helps understand why he has a problem with the Bang Babies. Because I mean, one is there's just the chaotic element of this town now being filled with a bunch of people with powers. Mm-hmm. There's the Bang Babies who are kind of active criminals.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, the majority of the Bang Babies are kids. They're teenagers.
Yeah, and there's that side of it too, which is that as someone who has dedicated his life and his career to helping kids, there's a part of him that I'm sure would recognize just the impact that had on all those kids, just like the pain of the empathy of knowing that there are people that are now struggling even more so because they have these powers and are dealing with even more problems than would have otherwise. And there's like the collateral damage element. Obviously, his community center gets destroyed partially by a kid, but and we'll get to it a little bit in the next episode. But in the next episode, we'll see the first interaction between Virgil's dad and Static, like face to face, and the only thing that the dad says is, "Do your parents know where you are?"
Yeah,
because he really does always look at this from the perspective of someone who really cares, which it helps differentiate him from, say, someone like J. Jonah Jameson, who's always like, "Oh, like Spider-Man, you menace, you're always causing these sort of problems," and almost gets played like a bit of a caricature at times, whereas that's like, oh, it's really coming from a place of empathy. And
What is the name? It's slipping me right now, but in Young Justice, they open up the facilities for new metakids.
oh,
Do you remember
is
what
it
those are
the
called?
oh, it starts with a T. It's in Talos, New Mexico. Talos, New Mexico, right?
Yeah, the first one is. Hold on, let me Google that real
I know
fast.
what you're talking about, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like if that I think was part of a comic story at this point in history, I feel like that is where Virgil's dad would be. Is like he would be running the meta facility
Right.
for kids
To help kids.
Yeah.
What we talked about most of the episode, but I do want to talk about the powers a little bit because it's an interesting power set, and I feel like
Oh, it's just called the youth
Center.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, it's run by Star. That's what I was thinking. It's run by Star Labs.
It's run by Star Labs.
There
Okay,
we go.
yeah.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about the way the kids' powers were used? It's also, for being a weird power, I thought it actually, the logic of it held up pretty well.
Yeah, it made sense. I mean, there's another person, I think it's in Static. Someone will correct me. Where they can just make projections. So that it's not a physical construct like Dwayne could make.
Yeah.
But instead it's it's a hologram.
Yeah, and I think here they obviously are physical constructs because they cause damage. They can pick up characters and move them around. But then it also acknowledges that though the constructs aren't vulnerable to Static's powers because they're still not real.
Yeah.
They're basically like hard light holograms, essentially. And I thought that actually held together pretty well.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was really interesting that the robot dinosaur had rocket legs. I had never noticed that in the opening title sequence.
Oh, I missed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the actual cartoon episode, like, oh, that T-Rex robot doesn't have legs. Mm-hmm. He's got jetpacks.
Got jetpacks. Yeah.
Jetpack legs.
Because that's cool.
I mean, it is cool.
And the show is cool.
That's the thing. That's what a kid would think of.
Yeah.
It's sort of like crazy imagination.
Yeah, and it's the power is used exactly as a kid would use it. He wants to show off to his friends, so he makes something to show off to his friends. What's the first thing we see him make?
The cherry soda fountain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, and then they talk about what's her face is back. Not Trixie.
Daisy.
Thank you. Daisy's back, and I think they use her in a very smart way for storytelling because we're already in a world where Virgil and Richie know everyone and kind of have that good connection to the community. You can have Daisy come in for exposition of like,
right.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that guy, that's Aaron. He was in juvie for a little bit, but now he's back. Let's go say hi to him like we've never met before.
Right. I mean, it is
like, hey, Aaron, you might not remember me. I'm Virgil. I'm the main character.
Yeah. This is my cartoon.
This is my show. It's called
Welcome.
Static Shock. I don't know the connection yet.
You're here for one episode.
Yeah. You have 23 minutes to get your story across.
Right. Then we'll forget you for all time.
Yeah.
But no, I quite liked this quite a bit.
Yeah, this is such a I didn't pick up any good. Oh, hold on. Before we get into quips, this is also a very important episode
Because it introduced Shaq.
because it's just Shaq. Yes.
Because the teenagers having an argument of who's the better basketball player, Will Chamberlain or Shaq.
Yep. Our first episode with Shaq in it.
Yes. The seeds are being planted.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, that was my pop culture reference of the week. Because there's really none in the next episode, but that one was like very, very on point.
It's almost like they looked in the camera and said it. It's like, Will Chamberlain, he's got nothing on. Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah. Coming soon to Kids
Coming
WB.
soon. Keep your eyes peeled, kids.
Watch this space.
But yeah, I think that's kind of everything that I had notes on.
The one little nod that I liked was when they have the that Martian train. His one weakness was fire, which is obviously a nod to John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, which is kind of fun. But yeah, shall we move on to Sons of the Father?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like as we mentioned at the top of the show, like this is a pretty important episode in terms of the run of Static Shock. It's one of their highest regarded. It's one of the most famous. And I just wasn't expecting to be so soon. So I was like excited to get to it because it's pretty intense. I mean, there's a loose background plot about Ebon and the what is it again?
Metabreeds.
Metabreed. I can never remember the name for some reason. The Metabreeds being back, but they're really a sideline plot thread that's really there just to give some structure to the main storyline, which is it's pointed out that Richie's always at Virgil's house and the way around. So Virgil's like, hey, can I come over to your place? And he goes on a Friday night and comes to realize that Richie's dad is this huge bigot. And is at first kind of oblique in his references, really like knocking on rap music and everything that it does for his community. And then eventually just like makes a comment, not to Virgil's face behind his back, about his kind. And it's really intense. So Virgil then leaves, and then Richie runs away, essentially, ultimately is kidnapped by Ebon. But it forces Richie's dad to partner up
Mr.
with
Fuller and Mr. Hawkins
to go together to go try and track him down. And Richie's dad is basically just confronted with his own bigotry. And it's like, it's not even subtle or like bleakly referenced. It's right there. Like Richie even says, like, my best friend just left because of your racism. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. This is a very, big episode.
Yeah. And again, like the kind of the emotional story, the social message that it's trying to get across is so well done and so powerful that the villain plot doesn't really matter. And this is a good use of a character like Ebon, who's already established, who we need to just bring in just to have a villainous presence in the background.
Yeah.
Like that's what these shows can do really well sometimes. When you need someone, you just have someone you can pull from your roster.
Yeah, and that's exactly. The Rogues Gallery, even in episode 8, they've already set up.
Yeah.
We have Ebon, Shiv, and Talon show up. We already know Hot Streak is a villain.
Yeah.
And those are kind of our core. Oh, and then
Rubber Band Man.
Well, he's more anti-hero from this point on.
Right, but up to this point, he's been...
Yeah. I was going to say Carmandillo.
Oh, Carmandillo's back!
Carmandillo and Chomper.
Make a nice appearance here.
He's just like the best kind of bumbling villain. Do you remember the Box Ghost in Danny Phantom?
Yeah.
The Box Ghost is one of the best villains because he's so useless.
He haunts boxes, right?
Yeah. He's like a evil haunted UPS ghost.
Yeah.
So he'll like make your he in Danny Phantom Miller's joke is like, I'll make your package delayed by 24 hours. And just like throw cardboard boxes at people. Yeah, so I imagine like Carmandillo is in a similar realm. It's just like this, like he thinks he's so threatening.
Yeah. There's a giant yellow armadillo. No one cares.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's good. It's good use of those kind of established villains, so you can really focus on like the primary plot here.
Yeah.
But like, especially that sequence when Virgil's at the house, it's hard to watch. It's really, really uncomfortable, and I'm glad they went there. I'm glad they went to that level of like really obvious uncomfortableness.
Yeah, because that's so real, and like the passiveness of the rest of the family, of like, you know, you see the dad when they're sitting at the table, you see the dad just like angrily eating, and then you see his mom like doesn't want to make eye contact with anyone. Richie doesn't want to make eye contact with anyone, and they're like, they know this is going to happen. Like they are prepared for this.
Yeah, I mean they deliberately tried to have Virgil come over when the dad wouldn't be around.
Yeah.
Which is it's sad. It's really, really sad. I mean, that's something that like, I mean, you and I are both white. We have never really dealt with this directly in any sort of way. I can honestly say that I don't come from a racist family, thank God. But you know, this is sort of stuff is real, and to have it portrayed in such a real manner is really helpful. Now, one thing I do want to note is that this was written by Christopher Simmons, who's one of the main writers on the show. As far as I can tell, Christopher Simmons is a white writer. I'm going off the fact that he's a Canadian-born writer and graphic designer.
Okay.
Not to just use a broad brushstroke here, but most likely this person's white. One little criticism, I kind of wish this had been written by like Dwayne McDuffie or one of the other writers. Not that it doesn't feel authentic, but I think maybe just that extra little bit of authenticity may have been beneficial.
Yeah. And you can definitely, at least I felt like they also still had to kidify some of the problems.
Yeah.
Where like when Richie's dad is talking about why he doesn't like rap music, like, oh, because it teaches kids to draw on walls and stay up past curfew.
Yeah, stay up past curfew.
And I'm like, oh, because you
disrespect their
can't
parents.
say anything else.
Can't say anything else. No. Yeah, the actual words he's using are very kiddified, but like the message is coming
Oh yeah,
through
absolutely. Yeah, you,
really,
you still
really
understand
strongly.
what he's saying.
And what's
And also, Virgil tries to like still see the good in him.
yeah.
So
Well,
like,
and
so he says the things about rap music. Richie and Virgil go back upstairs, and Richie's like profusely apologizing, and Virgil's like, "Oh no, I get it. Rap that's not a white or black thing. That's like that's an old person thing. My dad hates rap music.
Hates rap too. Yeah. And what I like about the way they did that is they also acknowledge the element which is like whoever is being subjected to prejudice always has to be the bigger person and not push back, because then doing so only fuels the completely fallacious argument on the other part of it. Right. So it's like, were Virgil or his dad like push back and be angry, like, this is bullshit, you can't treat people this way, then that just, in the diluted perspective of the bigoted person, just solidifies the argument they're already trying to make. And the fact they put that into the story, if not explicitly stated, that it's there, that Virgil is still trying to see the better part of this person who is treating him horribly, and that even his dad too is, someone who's obviously dealt with this his whole life, and also who, especially given the role he plays in the community center, would probably see a lot of this, is able to push back. And actually, the most impactful thing that he says is not really, is because he does call out the dad a little bit on his racism, but he really says
Mr.
like
Hawkins.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. Robert Hawkins calls out Mr. Hawkins calls out Mr. Foley, but what he really says, like, you have a really incredible son, and because of the way you are and the way you look at the world, you'll never fully appreciate that. And I thought that was so powerful.
That hits.
Yeah, because he really went to the crux of it, which is like there's just the broad tragedy of the fact that you are continuing to project this sort of hate into the world. There's the more focused tragedy of the fact that you aren't able to connect with people because you have these prejudices. But like, the thing that is the most tragic of all of it is that you are losing your son because of the way you see the world and the fact that he doesn't either.
There's I really, really like that. I was trying to look into the dad a little more, because they never say exactly what his job is, but they kind of bounce around what it might be.
He's clearly in some, he has a job that includes night shifts, so it's some sort of blue collar job.
I always assumed it was like some kind of security job. Like, I thought he was like a warden at not a warden, but like an officer at either like a jail, like a prison or juvie or something like that. Because he always talks about like, he has to work with the worst of the people. Yeah. And so I always thought that was interesting, having this character that only sees he can only see the negative sides of every person he meets. And then you have Mr. Hawkins, who always sees the best in everyone he meets, coming together. And then even between that, they go to kind of this, while they're on the hunt, they go to kind of the purgatory, where you have kids that ran away from their parents and they don't know what to do anymore. Yeah, it's like an abandoned house that kids have run off to. Yeah, should we do the bad stuff? Should we go down a bad path, or should we go down a good path? Yeah. And so it's actually like the midpoint between these two characters. Like, that's such an interesting, to bring them to a point where they can go to either's house. Yeah. And something will happen. No, I mean, like, in that moment, I'm like, does Mr. Hawkins really think that Richie's gonna go here? But putting that aside, like, it's really impactful in terms of portraying like what the consequences are of being in that sort of environment. Yeah. And no, I mean, it's really, really impactful. And I mean, like I said, I come from a really supportive family, but the thing that I felt really emotionally resonant between these two episodes is, one, we were talking about with Dwayne, like the idea that he's aware of the disapproval of his family and he knows he's a bang baby. And then in here, we're kind of dealing about just like either active or passive bigotry. And it's like,
I won't go all into it, but like when I came out, like there was a lot of friction in my family. Like now we're great, having gone through it. We're actually stronger as a result. But like that's what I really connected with, is the idea of like you can reckon, like being in a situation where you know that you're around someone that either like just like disapproves of who you are as a person, and not knowing how to deal with that, or like having to retreat into it in a lot of ways, or wanting to get out of that situation. Like that really emotionally resonated with me too. And it's just really good.
Yeah. And then the ending is great.
Oh wait, the when they all show up at the
Oh no, like the very last bit.
Oh, okay.
So Richie's dad, starting to learn his lesson, goes to pick up Virgil and Richie from the community center. Like, oh boy, I can't wait to go to Dakota Comic Con. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, they are.
I did. Because like the final button on it though too is the comment like, oh yeah, like we're gonna go there and there's all these like people dressed up in costumes and makeup, even some of the guys, and we're just like, oh, let that be a surprise. I want to see the look at his face. I'm like, oh good, he's homophobic too.
But yes, he could be homophobic, but that's also just a joke of the early 2000s.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about this at length.
Yes.
That all comedy was grounded in homophobia in the early 2000s.
Oh yes, it was.
But no, I mean, like I mean, I can honestly say I think probably one of the best episodes of the DCAU we've encountered
absolutely.
for very, very different reasons than maybe some of the other ones we've talked about as being really exemplary. But like, it's a really emotional story. It's really good, and want to give like a extra shout out to the guys over the DCAU Watchtower, the Watchtower database, because they did a YouTube video, which I'm pretty sure I plugged when they first put it out there, but all about diversity in the DCAU. And this show in particular, this episode and this dynamic is kind of one of the major things they touch upon. So, definitely worth going and giving that a watch, and kind of giving a more nuanced perspective on it than maybe you and I are able to do.
Yeah.
Clumsily here on the podcast.
Doing the best we can.
Exactly. But no, that's really worth a watch. So go check that out. So.
I'm trying to think if because there's only really one quip between these two episodes, so it's gonna be the clip
they're a
of
little
the
more
week.
serious, yeah.
Yeah, so it was you're a shadow of your former self, Ebon. Like, I like that. That's a pretty good one.
It's so good. All right, shall we move into some notes from friends here?
Let's do it.
All right, so got a message from Ashley Clark after our last full episode in which we were able to kind of jump in and respond to some notes. But she messaged in with some score recommendations. I was talking about how much I love scores. So she had a few. She said her favorite score is The Adventures of Robin Hood. Some other ones are Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, The Village, Broadchurch, and who doesn't love Dragonheart? I actually haven't listened to any of these scores. So I'm going to go do that. So
what's the like most unusual score in your kind of go-to playlist?
Ooh, there's so many. I really like the Beetlejuice score.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So I usually try and go for stuff that has some energy to it. I mean, I do love my kind of more like atmospheric scores a little bit too.
Yeah.
But
I'm all about the atmosphere.
Yeah. Like, so for example, like I will listen to the Danny Elfman Batman scores more than I will listen to the Hans Zimmer ones, because the Danny Elfman ones feel a little more big and operatic and have a high energy to it, whereas the Batman Begins, The Dark Knight are kind of more like atmosphere, simmering sounds sort of thing. So that's usually what I go for. I think some of the weirder ones that are on there though, and they're individual songs. I don't necessarily listen to the full score, but one is the William Tell Overture from The Lone Ranger from Hans Zimmer.
Interesting.
It's the sequence. It's like the 10-minute long version they use for the train. You've seen The Lone Ranger.
I've
right?
not seen The Lone Ranger.
Look, a lot of it's awful, but it is directed by Gore Verbinski, who, when he's not necessarily on form, despite that, he is a really good visual action director, and he's really good at these sort of like Rube Goldberg-esque action sequences. So there's this fantastic sequence at the end of The Lone Ranger with multiple trains kind of running simultaneously and stuff happening back and forth between them. And it's all done to the William Tell Overture, which is like a pretty classic piece of music, but was the Lone Ranger theme, but it's this big bombastic version. The other one that's kind of an odd choice is it's also Hans Zimmer, but it's from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's the Electro Suite.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that at all.
I have Rooftop Kiss
Okay.
on my go-to list from Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, but it's the one where it's like got a bunch of weird, it's like electrifying, terrifying.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
It's a really odd piece of music, but it's goddamn it doesn't get you pumped up. So that's an odd one. So, but I do love me some scores. But Ashley also had another comment she made, which is we were talking about like great casts. So she had a comment, which is there should be a perfect cast challenge. So I'm going to pose that to you now as a question, Cameron, which is for you. What are some of your perfect casts, and can we, in this moment now, come up with the greatest cast of all time in cinema?
That's a big question, and that's a question that definitely was not posed 40 minutes ago for me to think about.
But we'll figure it out on the fly. So, do you have some? You want me to throw out some of mine?
I mean, I have my joke answer, which is Looney Tunes, is Space Jam.
Space Jam. I mean,
Can't get any more perfect than Michael Jordan, Bill Murray, and the Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Also Wayne Knight.
Sorry, excuse me, and also Wayne Knight. Yes.
Yes, and Bill Murray.
I said Bill Murray.
Did you say Bill Murray?
I said him first.
Oh, okay, I wasn't paying attention to the words you were saying. No, I mean that is a super solid one. I mean, we were talking about them earlier. I think that the reboot Star Trek cast is a perfect cast.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
But I think that one can't necessarily take the cake because it is a perfect cast in that it is having to fall in the shadow of a previously perfectly cast group of people. And the fact that it has a great balance of new takes on the characters and old takes on the characters. And, that's a great one for me, but I wouldn't include that. Obviously, I have to throw in the cast from Casablanca.
Okay.
Given that it's my favorite movie of all time, I deem that film a perfect film.
You did a Casablanca thing recently, didn't you?
I did. My friend Alec was in town. He's been on the podcast before. Apropos of this conversation, because I'm sure it'll come up for you, but he was on the Who Framed Roger Rabbit episode. But he and I went out to the Casablanca Mexican restaurant in Venice, California. And the whole place is just all kinds of Casablanca memorabilia, murals, and stuff like that. And both of us being huge Casablanca fans, it was amazing. But I mean that movie is incredibly well written, but part of it it survives on the chemistry and the strength of its cast. And I think that is something worth noting. Is like I feel like a perfect cast is one that if you were to swap out any individual element of it, it wouldn't be as good of a movie.
Okay.
So like I think another one worth acknowledging is Star Wars, the original Star Wars film. Like that is a perfect cast. I feel like there's no one you change anywhere in that. And that really survives in the chemistry of those leads. And the fact that when George Lucas was making that movie, he based it on the chemistry. It wasn't finding the best person for each role, but what trio had the best chemistry together. And obviously the ones that he picked worked.
Yeah. Two robots and a Wookiee.
Exactly. He clearly lost that mojo when it came to casting the prequels. But
yeah.
I don't know. Who are some other casts for you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, the Scott Pilgrim cast is so big.
That is a really great cast.
But everyone in it is so right. I mean, I was such a huge fan of that comic franchise beforehand. Chris Evans is amazing as Lucas Lee. Brandon Roth is Todd Ingram.
Oh, Brandon Roth.
I know. Obviously, Michael Cera is Scott.
Yeah.
Just this bumbling.
Kieran Culkin is so good in that movie.
Yeah. That cast is pretty phenomenal. I can't imagine anyone else in those roles. I want to say I'm just going to go through my top films.
Yeah.
Because that's why I think they're my top films. But then I was going to say Speed Racer, but I feel like that movie, I think John Goodman is perfect cast. I think
yeah, but
some of them are perfect, but I think Trixie, I think you could probably put in.
I think someone else could be Trixie. I mean, even Emil Hirsch is doing a good job in that role, but I feel like you could swap him out with someone else and it wouldn't make that huge of a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for the sake of this argument, let's not do animation. How about that?
Yeah.
Because that opens up a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then we can bring in voice cast if we want.
Yeah, the Toy Story voice cast, obviously.
Oh, I was gonna SpongeBob, the first movie, David Hasselhoff.
That's true. The Hoff, everything's better with the Hoff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can get
that's such a big question.
You can get into Marvel, right? But I think it ultimately comes down to it can't be a movie that really hangs on maybe one or even two critical pieces of casting, right? It's obviously Marvel's done an amazing job with their cast. You could say oh my god, the Avengers is a perfect cast, but that almost feels like a bit of a cheat in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, even the first Iron Man though, like yes, RDJ is Iron Man, but like I don't think we needed Jon Favreau to play Happy. We can get someone else there.
Yeah, but he's so good in it.
They're all so good, but I could also just imagine, because I mean, obviously we're gonna get a reboot at some point in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And that alone, I think, says of how permanent the cast is.
Yeah.
Like RDJ is gonna be the hardest one to replace. And that's why I think it's gonna take so long for them to reboot that one specifically.
Yeah.
But like, you know, anyone can be Pepper. Anyone can be Happy.
I'm surprised you haven't thrown in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I've been thinking about that one, and I think, I mean, Roger's obviously great.
Yeah. But I mean, Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd.
Yes, those were the two that I was solid yeses.
Yeah,
and I think it's
oh, go ahead.
What's her face?
Oh, Dolores.
She's
a little interchangeable. Mm-hmm. This is the one time I'd make an exception for a voice performance, though, in terms of Kathleen Turner for Jessica Rabbit. Because no one else can do that character.
Yeah,
at all. But I would agree with you.
Bad. I'm just drawn that way.
That her voice is fucking exceptional. But I'll give you that. Like you could probably swap out Dolores from the supporting cast and it wouldn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I think if we're gonna try and come up with like one, like a perfect cast, like the most perfect cast of all time, I'm gonna throw my hat in for the first Star Wars film.
Okay.
And look, again, Casablanca's my favorite movie. I would never slight it in any sort of way. And you can't change anyone else out on that. But what I will say about Star Wars is for many reasons that movie has a huge cultural impact. But I think you replace any one of those major characters, and I'm gonna go ahead and include Kenny Baker, Anthony Daniels, Peter Mayhew, and obviously James Earl Jones, but even down to Grand Moff Tarkin's character. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Peter Cushing, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is so good. You take like any prominently featured character in that, I think you swap them out, the movie is pretty substantially compromised, and I think that movie was always going to be successful, but a huge part of its success is down to how good that cast is. And if you start fucking with that chemistry, maybe it doesn't land the same way it does, and maybe it doesn't have this insane cultural impact that it has had for the last 40 plus years. Mm-hmm. That's my argument, at least. I don't know if you have a...
Yeah. I feel like this could be a whole episode.
I know.
I'm not gonna give a solid answer yet. I'll come back next week and give an answer.
Okay.
Or 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, exactly.
My second joke answer is any of the Abbott and Costello films.
That's true.
Their names are
because the names right.
Yeah, they literally can't replace them with anyone else.
That's a fair shout.
Yeah,
it's a fair shout right there. All right. Well,
how more perfect can you be when your name is in the title?
In the title. All right. Well, then this is a to be concluded conversation at some point, but my vote is for the original Star Wars cast.
Yes. Please tell us what you guys think is the most perfect
and also
cast.
like I love getting these kind of questions, like getting an opportunity to just kind of like talk about some random little element of entertainment. As you know, we love to get off topic. So if you have some questions you'd love to have us answer, just any sort of speculative things like that, perfect cast, best, I don't know, reboot, something like that, throw it out at us, and we'll kind of answer some of those in this section here. So, but moving on from that, let us journey into the realm of bat plugs. Cameron, what do you got to plug this week?
I haven't had a chance to watch a lot, but I did go see the new Charlie's Angels.
How was it?
It's not bad.
Okay.
It's fun. Great airplane movie. As my scale always
I feel like
says.
Your version of airplane movie is what I call an iTunes movie, which is like maybe a movie that I would buy, or maybe not. Like for me, an iTunes movie is a movie that I would buy because I would watch it all the time, just for the fun of it. But I think an airplane movie for you is like one that's just worth like having on in the background.
Yeah. When I say airplane movie, it's like it's one that I'm not gonna go out and seek, but if I see it when I'm scrolling through flights on a plane, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch this.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that's not the same definition that I have. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
it's
fun,
one
though.
where like I guess the other comparison is like if I see it like if I still used cable, like if I saw it was about to play on cable, like I would stop what I was watching it and watch.
But you're not gonna go like I gotta sit down and watch this in its entirety.
Yeah, I'm not when it comes out on DVD, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I need to go watch this now.
Yeah,
like it's never gonna be top of mind for me.
So I mean, you enjoyed it. It was
I
fun.
did, yeah. I think Elizabeth Banks did really well with directing and acting in it. It breaks my heart to say this. I think Naomi Scott might be the worst person in the movie.
No, is that just
Yeah.
because everyone else is so strong?
Everyone else is great.
Or
In it.
is she just kind of noticeably not really?
Kristen Stewart is acting circles around everyone else in this movie.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
she's
she's
so
a
good in
very
this.
experienced, very talented actress.
Yeah, she's so good in this movie, and like her character, you can just see her having so much fun.
Yeah.
Because there's not really any like one-to-one comparison to either the '90s version or the '70s version.
Yeah.
But it's kind of Kristen Stewart is kind of like the plucky, like I'm just doing this because it's a fun thing to do kind
Yeah.
of character. Oh my gosh, Naomi Scott is the new recruit. She's the tech genius that doesn't really know what's going on.
And
then
I would have guessed that maybe a lot of like the story is then hung on her shoulders because she's like our entry point into this world.
yeah. And then I don't remember the third girl's name because she's a newer actress.
Yeah, I can't remember. I haven't seen her in.
But she's the
else.
like ex MI6.
Okay.
Ella Balinska.
Okay. Oh, nice.
She's great. Yeah, they're all great. Patrick Stewart is amazing in it. Digimon Hansu is great in it. Yeah, everyone is just so. Everyone. I mean, I guess the villains aren't super great, but yeah, Kristen Stewart is so good in this movie, and that's I think my biggest problem with it is there's no real like big character arcs for any of the people. I was hoping to kind of have like more stereotype in the beginning for them to break out of by the end of it, but they're all kind of out of their trope immediately.
Okay.
Like she's Kristen Stewart is the fun-loving, like weird one, but she's also like, but also like we have to do everything by the books. Like we have to make sure that gets done first, and that, then that, then that, then that, because like we're still a team.
Yeah.
And like, oh well, no, you should learn that.
Okay. Is it more just kind of like a romp? Is it
Yeah.
maybe a little lacking in substance? It's more just like a fun thing.
Yeah. It's very much like I went to see it because I needed something to just turn my brain off to.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that. Like
Okay.
it's fun. It's very cute.
Because there's kind of like some interesting dialogue around the movie because it hasn't done well in the box office at all. It's been like a total flop.
Yeah, and that's really upsetting because it's not worth flop status.
Okay, I guess that was me. Like the crux of my question is, yeah. I mean, do you feel like it should be doing better?
Yeah, I think at least it should make its money back.
Okay.
For the entertainment I got out of it, I would say it should like gross, I don't know, $30 million.
That's still not enough to make its money back.
No, I mean, no. So,
like
gross?
it should make 30 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you have very high expectations for what profit movies make.
Oh, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, it should
Yeah.
profit, not gross.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do want to watch it. The challenge I have now is that I barely get a chance to see anything.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I chose that over like Honey Boy.
Yeah.
Everyone has been telling me to go see The Lighthouse. I'm sorry, I'm probably not going to see The
I'm
Lighthouse.
probably not going to see it
anytime
either.
soon.
No, like, you and I have both prioritized seeing Frozen 2 this weekend, although we
Yeah.
haven't had a chance yet. I really want to see Knives Out. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Oh, did
That's-
that just come out?
Came out this weekend. Yeah.
Oh shit! God damn it!
I know. So I'm prioritizing trying to get a chance to sit and
Oh,
see that. I got to go
man.
see Ford versus Ferrari, being the big gearhead that I am.
Yeah, it's good.
So there's a lot of things I want to see. Like, and I genuinely wanted to see this. Like,
And even though there's still stuff on Disney Plus I haven't watched yet.
I know, right? There's that too. And I think that's what it came down to for me. It was like, I wanted to see this. I was super excited when they first announced it, given that it was Elizabeth Banks, who I absolutely adore. To like put this franchise in the hands of women, I thought was really important. I was really excited about it. The first trailer came out. I'm like, I'm not super keen on this. Every subsequent trailer, every time I watch, I'm like, this movie looks dumb, but I'm also on board with it. I want to go see it and have fun.
Yeah. I see. So there's moments in the movie where I understand why reviewers are going to review it badly. Because there's moments where they really overemphasize like the mistreatment of women in the workplace.
Okay.
And I'm sure as a reviewer, they're like, oh, this feels out of place. I'm like, no, we need to see these things.
No, it's important. Yeah, like we were just talking about with these episodes of Static Shock. Like at the end of the day, entertainment should also still have something to say and should feel of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the opening shot is Naomi going into a meeting and her boss, like, talking over her the whole time, like puts his hand on her knee. She's like, or no, puts his hand on her hand. She's like, "You're doing a great job, honey. Like, just keep doing what you're doing."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's the stuff that like, why are they doing this? But I'm like, oh yeah, we just need this.
Yeah, because
so much right now.
The world just does this all the time. Yeah, no, I want to watch it. I just don't have the time, and it's not something I'm going to prioritize. I wish it was doing better. I want a movie like this to be successful because I think what ends up happening is there's a very complex narrative around this because there's a couple of different elements. There's one, just a quality perspective that maybe it's not as good as people were hoping it would be, so they're not interested.
If we're comparing it to like the all-female Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
I think it's much better than that movie.
Well, that's not a hard
just
bar.
yeah, exactly.
That movie was terrible.
Yeah, just on like a content level.
Yeah,
it's a better movie than that.
But there's a lot that goes into this because one, there's the idea of maybe it's just not as good as everyone was kind of hoping it would be, so it's not doing well because of that. There's just a competition thing, which is it came out at a time when other really big movies were coming in the pipeline. It frankly was having to compete with things like Disney Plus right now. There's a conversation about the fact that movies with all-female cast, especially ones that then have female directors and writers, producers behind it, there's conversations about those movies not necessarily doing as well as everyone would like. There's also a conversation we had about just overuse of IP, that maybe people just don't really care about Charlie's Angels anymore.
Yeah.
And that they weren't super excited to see that despite maybe the cast and the creators behind it being really special. There's also, the fact that I don't think Elizabeth Banks has done herself a lot of favors by being super vocal about its lack of performance in a bit of a negative way. And it seems obnoxious to me to like point out her specifically because then it seems like I'm only criticizing the fact
but that's what the news, I mean, like, not only has she been the most vocal, but that's what the news has been picking up.
Yeah.
Is talking about how she is this like loud voice. I'm like, no, fuck you guys. Like,
yeah. But, regardless, male or female, I also feel like directors shouldn't be necessarily jumping into those kind of conversations. I think no one ever looks good coming out of that.
Yeah.
It's like you can maybe become like, oh yeah, like it's disappointing, but I'm super proud of what we did. And maybe that's part of what she's saying and it's not part of what's getting picked up. But I feel like you just steer clear of that for the most part because it's never going to betray you in a good light, unfortunately.
yeah.
Which just sucks because I fucking love Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, me too.
She's amazing. But okay, so Buji is a movie you would recommend people go see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've seen everything else, it's not like I think you should see it. I don't think you should prioritize it.
Okay.
Like, go see Knives Out first. Go see Frozen first. Go see Ford vs. Ferrari first.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to see all those things.
Go see Honey Boy first.
Oh, is Honey Boy the Shia LaBeouf? Interesting.
I've heard it's amazing.
Probably won't see
And
it.
it's only at ArcLight, which is the other problem.
Oh, yeah, probably won't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I am hopeful will happen is that's going to get a nomination for something, just so other theaters will pick it up for award season.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. All right. Any other plugs for you?
No, what have you been watching, listening, reading?
Not much. Again, lack of time is always a problem. I already mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again here. Like, obviously, go check out the section Black Heroes Matter from DC Watchtower Database. I always say their name wrong. It's Watchtower Database, which will be in the show notes. And the other thing is I've been reading a book called The Sedona Method. It's literally sitting on the coffee table there in front of you.
Oh.
So I don't do well with nonfiction. I get bored. And I have a hard time just picking up. But this book is specifically kind of about kind of like learning how to accept our emotions and let them go, but it's also about acknowledging when we're being resistant to doing things, like we don't want to do something, so we're like the roadblocks we put in our way and like trying to figure out how to let them go. And I'm not very far into it yet, but it's already been super helpful. And I without going into the details of it, my job right now is incredibly stressful and very consuming. And so it's just a book that I've been finding very helpful in terms of figuring out how to like deal with being really stressed out and anxious and frustrated and that sort of thing. And I found it super helpful. And actually it was a recommendation from my dad who read it a few years ago. And it's been really instrumental for him in terms of letting go of stress, which has been really fantastic to see that sort of like transformation happen. So
Nice.
It's odd that I'm out here plugging basically what's more or less a self-help book, but I actually genuinely find it helpful. And,
I plugged one a year ago.
Did you?
Yeah. Silent. I think it was the book about like if you're an introvert, how to survive in
yeah.
America, and if you're an extrovert, how to deal with introverts.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay, well there we go. Occasionally we have.
Quiet. It's called Quiet, not
That's it.
Silent.
Okay, yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah, occasionally meaningful things, but no, it's been very helpful. So it's something I'd recommend to people. It's good.
Nice.
Yeah, but I think that does it for us this week. So next week we'll be talking about Disney Plus.
Ha ha ha.
I give you a lot of patience for making it this far. Without,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really say that you made it this far. You've been plugging Disney Plus every week.
This is the week I've
since it
talked
was
the
announced.
least
I
about
know,
Disney.
But it's fine because I think you know you have like a full conversation coming down the pipeline to talk about it. But yeah,
I can't wait.
yeah, so we will be talking about that next week. So, but thank you as always for listening, and we would love to hear comments, but especially questions. If you have just like fun, weird entertainment questions you want us to read out and answer
It's
on
the
the
people
podcast.
with their finger on the button of Hollywood. Let us know your questions.
Exactly, as
your industry.
as us outsider Hollywood insiders here, Hollywood insider outsiders.
Yeah, I mean we live in Hollywood.
That's
all
true.
that
Yeah.
matters.
We would love to get those questions. You can find us at Tim Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail.
That's right.
Yes. Cameron, where can they find you?
You can see my face at CamDexter_adventures and all of my Disney things, and my archived art page at Cameron.Dexter.
Someday you'll bring it back.
Yeah. What about you?
I believe in you. You can find me at Lordifer on Instagram and Twitter.
Perfect.
I know, but thank you everyone, and
We'll see you next week.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Oh wait, we forgot to do.
What?
We have our normal Static Shock outro. We didn't even do it this week. I got
Superhero Static Shock.
Whoop, whoop.